What's up, nerds? Welcome to lucky episode 13 of The Bandwagon Fan. This is the show where we talk about all things pop culture and what we're into right now. I'm Josh.
I'm AJ.
And I'm Alex.
And I'm Kate.
And this is a special week special, very special, all the special, about the Disney Plus show Book of Boba Fett Season 1.
Is it more special than the Christmas special? Because that's everyone's favorite special.
The most special of specialist special.
Yeah, we don't talk about the Christmas special.
We only talk about the Christmas special. Easily the best content ever involving Star Wars.
Which I believe that's where Boba Fett came from.
Is it actually?
Really?
Yeah. He was like a prototype for a stormtrooper, like a special stormtrooper. And then they were like, "This is cool. Let's make him do a bounty hunter."
Wow.
Yeah, there's a whole long story behind that.
That's awesome and really lame at the same time.
The more you know.
It is something. So I don't think people are aware, but Mondays, which we air our show, is also Melgosa Monday. So in honor of that, in honor of this Melgosa Monday, Alex, why don't you start us off?
Oh, I love Melgosa Monday. It's easily my favorite holiday, my favorite day.
During Black History Month, this is unacceptable, man.
Yeah.
This is unacceptable.
Oh, cancel Alex.
Yeah, dude. You gotta cancel this kid.
Josh started it. Cancel Josh, then cancel me second.
I've already been canceled, let's be real.
Yeah.
So Monday, cancel Josh Tuesday.
It's just someone cancel Josh Tuesday. Exactly.
Oh, we're jumping right into this.
Yeah, we are.
Two knees deep.
First of all, everyone's seen Book of Boba, right?
Yeah.
Y'all seen this?
I actually read it because it's a book.
Are you serious?
You read it, and then I visualized it as a film.
Thank you. Yeah.
Wait, is it really a book?
All a dream.
No.
Oh, okay. Don't play with me because I legitimately thought like some guy wrote it. And he's just like,
yeah. If you're listening and you're confused, it's not actually a book.
I would have kind of believed that.
Me too. That's why I asked.
I mean, spoiler alert for anyone who has never seen any Star Wars, Boba Fett does escape the Sarlacc pit. That is the first scene, I believe. Isn't that literally the first shot of the TV show?
So I love that scene. I think we talked about this in the podcast before, but for anyone who watches Parks and Rec, like it is verbatim Patton Oswalt's spiel when he's giving a filibuster, and he literally describes it. I feel like whoever directed it, they had to have watched that because it is verbatim
100%.
His what do you call it, like fan fiction of how Boba Fett is still alive. It's pretty awesome. So I thought that was pretty cool.
I forgot about that, and then when you told me, dude, I was just dying laughing because you're right. It's like word for word how he describes it.
It's even funnier because he made that up during the filming of that episode. It wasn't like somebody wrote that stuff. So like he obviously loves Star Wars as well. So he talked about how he made that up. It was kind of just like an impromptu thing. If you ever watched the episode, it's actually a very funny episode of Parks and Rec where they're Patton Oswalt's character is trying to like keep this historical building in place, and so he makes a point to I can't remember Tina Fey's best friend. What's her name? Amy Poehler. Amy Poehler's character on the show.
Leslie.
Yeah. Well, I'm giving their real names because people won't know who I'm talking about if I say Leslie or stuff like that. But Amy Poehler's character is then takes on the challenge, and they both stay in this like Little House on the Prairie style house for like a week. It's really funny. It's a good episode. So if you haven't watched Parks and Rec, but you like The Office and Brooklyn Nine-Nine and Space Force, whatever these TV shows that guy has written, he's on that show as well.
For reference, it's season 5, episode 19 of Parks and Rec.
Ooh,
and that's why Kate is our producer, everyone.
Deep cut.
Let's jump into Parks and we should do a whole Parks and Rec episode someday for anyone who hasn't seen it.
We definitely will.
Stay tuned.
Stay tuned. But yeah, I wasn't super thrilled for Book of Boba when I first heard the announcement. But starting with episode 1, I thought it was awesome. I thought like watching him, I didn't really need to know that whether he ever escaped the Sarlacc pit or not. It was never on my mind. But watching that scene was actually really cool. It's cool seeing like the Jawas basically just like taking his it's Mandalorian armor, I believe, right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So like that was kind of cool because I'm just like, this seems very not Boba Fett to me at all, but also like
it sounds like you haven't watched The Mandalorian then.
Shh, don't tell anyone.
No.
Actually, he has because you like the Boba Fett better than the Mandalorian, right?
Yeah, I didn't. I watched.
Did you finish? Did you finish Mandalorian?
I watched season 1, and then I read a recap for season 2 because I got bored after a few episodes.
Okay, so see, he did it. So the reason why they show the Jawas taking the armor is because in the Mandalorian, they kind of work. They're kind of working in future tense, I guess you could say, because we find out that Boba Fett's armor exists, and then they go through a whole backstory of how the character that we'll talk about later actually had Boba Fett's armor, which he had, I think, bargained for from the Jawas. So that's why they're showing the Jawas taking the armor. They're linking those two storylines together, along with some other things. But
which is a storyline I probably will never watch, but it's whatever. So for people like me who did not finish Mandalorian, I was rather confused at that part. I'm sure there's a few people out there.
I wasn't confused. I just kind of was like, oh, okay, they stole his stuff. Like, that seems like what the Jawas would do. They take stuff to sell and make money. It's kind of like they're scrapping people anyways.
Yeah. They're gypsies.
We don't use that word.
Sorry. But legit, they are gypsies, though. It's a little racist, but whatever. We'll come to that later.
Oh, there's a lot of like subtle racist things in Star Wars.
There's a lot of interesting context with Star Wars. First of all, like, how does anyone speak to the Jawas? Jawas.
Oh, well, that's the thing. We learn later that they do speak. What's basic? Is that the language, Josh? Yeah, they do, or they understand basic at least.
Yeah, they understand it. They don't really speak it.
They don't speak it, but apparently, the mechanic, I can't remember her name. Apparently, she knows how to speak to them, which is
what's her name, Motto or something like that.
I think that's the first time. Well, I think that's correct me if I'm wrong. I think that's the first time we've ever seen that, right? Someone talk to Jawas in their language.
No, well, in their language, yeah.
Yeah.
Peli Motto, that's her name.
Okay. Yeah, she's great. I like her.
Yeah.
Yes, Amy Sedaris.
Yeah.
Great actress.
I didn't know that was her name, but yeah, she's pretty great. But yeah, I don't know. Like, that scene happens. You know, he escapes the pit, armor's stolen, and then like he's captured by Tusken Raiders, and it kind of, I believe, does like a flash forward at this point, which is like jumping forward 5 years. It does this a lot in the show, where it'll kind of like, or it'll jump back. So it'll either go to like current history, or it'll go back to his situation of where he's leading to. Does anyone
his second origin, basically?
Yeah, which is so weird to me that it's still like a thing. I don't
It's symbolic of like a rebirth, that kind of idea. You know what I mean? So
do you know what year this is supposed to take place? Because I actually
like in terms of like the Star Wars timeline.
Yeah, in terms of like
timeline. So first of all, him escaping out the Sarlacc pit is exactly after technically like the Empire falls. So that whole thing of him hanging out with the Tuskens, I think you can assume that this somewhere between like 10 to 15 years that he is with these people, because if you guys remember that, without giving too much away, Ahsoka being alive was kind of like a revelation for Star Wars Rebels. I don't want to give too much away if you haven't watched Star Wars Rebels, but her being part of the Mandalorian in this timeline kind of places it like, after the Empire, after Episode 6, after the Empire falls, but before the whole the series, the trilogy that we won't talk about. It happens in between that time.
The second trilogy that we
won't talk about. We won't talk about it. We won't talk about that one. That's the redheaded stepchild.
And then eventually the third trilogy that we won't talk about.
No, the second trilogy is okay, but the third trilogy we just won't talk about it. So this happens between Rey's existence or during like Rey's, like, I guess, childhood or whatever, and after the Empire falls.
Yeah. Well, one thing I can't remember in this episode is when at point does he meet? How do you say her name? Is it Fennec?
Fennec.
Yeah. Fennec Shan.
Yeah.
So Fennec Shan, again, that is another character from the season 2 of Mandalorian. Fennec is paid by what is like the shambles of the Empire to kill Mando, and he leaves her for dead, I should say. And so that's what that whole scene explaining. I think that's like episode 3 that we'll talk about later. That's what that whole scene was of, like, Boba finding her in the desert and essentially replacing her midsection with those robot parts, and then she basically like follows him as a life debt, right? Because she owes him his life, that kind of thing. So
okay,
so yeah, so that's before.
Why I was a little confused with, I guess, seeing
like their relation. Yeah.
I originally thought Book of Boba was like a standalone thing
Series.
you could jump into.
Yeah.
So back to episode 1, because I jumped around a little bit. He's captured by the Tusken Raiders. 5 years later, him and Fennec are in Mos Eisley to take over Jabba's basically like crime empire, which is kind of cool because it's like a throwback to some older characters, which I was interested in. But essentially, like, a lot of stuff goes down here. If you haven't watched it, I don't like want to necessarily like describe every scene, but Fett gets ambushed in a cantina that he's meeting at, and then this is where Fennec ends up capturing who they have no idea. Like, there's like a chase down, and like she ends up capturing a assassin that is trying to take down Boba. And this is where I thought the show started to get interesting, because I assumed that it had something to do with like whoever was in Mos Eisley before, like someone that had to, like, why can't I think of his name right now? Someone who had to do with Jabba the Hutt's like crime.
Jabba. Yeah.
I kind of figured that it would have something to do with that. So it's kind of cool seeing like our first like Assassin's Creed style like chase scene. And then like seeing Fett like taken back to the back to tank for healing. It doesn't really show it. Like, it doesn't really explain, I guess, at the time, like why he's in the tank. It just kind of.
I think they do kind of give like a hint. I think like him being in the Sarlacc pit, the acid really messed up his skin, his body. Because if you remember, he only barely escaped out of there. And I think you can say like adrenaline is what like powered him out of the pit. So I think that's why he's still in the Sarlacc pit, just general healing.
That's what I figured too. He had like some severe burns around his whole body. Right. He probably was in a lot of pain too.
Probably. Do you guys know how long he was in there? About
not long enough to be fully digested.
But the problem is we don't know how long that is.
Right. He also I think his helmet had like an air filter and it ran out, because then he's like gasping for breath, and then he like doesn't he like steal a filter from a stormtrooper or something too?
From a decayed stormtrooper.
Yeah.
So I'm guessing
maybe a few days.
Not too long.
Yeah.
But long enough to have done damage to his body.
Right. Yeah, like let's guess a few days. If there's anyone out there that knows, like, we'd love to hear it.
I'm sure somebody knows. Someone's gonna be like, well, actually,
some guy knows it all. I think it's kind of a cool wrap up to episode 1, because like this whole episode, like, Boba Fett isn't really talking much. You're more just kind of seeing a lot of things happening. I don't know. You see like all these situations that he gets thrown into without a lot of words, and I know we've talked about that before, where it's compared to a lot of old school westerns. But then like season 2 or episode 2 just like jumps right into Boba Fett and Fennec interrogating the assassin who they have now like finally captured. And I do not know how to say the mayor's name, but he claims to have been hired by I believe it's Mock Chez.
Works for me.
There's so many weird Star Wars names. Let's just go with it. But he's the mayor of Mos Espa. We have not seen this mayor. We don't know what he looks like. They essentially travel to him. He is a very, very strange looking, typical Star Wars creature, which is what I'm going to use.
I think he's Ithorian.
He's a what?
An Ithorian.
Yeah, see, I knew Josh would know it.
Nerd.
I'm just going to call him
what a nerd
creature. Josh is going to know the exact
that works for me. Yeah. I think Mock Shaz is an Ithorian.
Yeah, it's
And what also is interesting is he is played by one of the directors of the series.
Oh, the series, yeah, that's true. Yeah. The mayor is voiced by one of the directors.
That's kind of cool. I mean, it's cool. He doesn't really move a lot and doesn't talk a whole lot, so I think it's it's an easy role.
It fits. To win. Yeah, it definitely does fit.
I don't know if it shows, but it sounds like his voice is like a like almost robotic. Like when he talks.
Yeah, I think it's because I think those creatures that I can't remember the name of it, but they have two mouths, so each side of their mouth they're talking, and the device in his mouth is a translator. I guess so I think that's why it's like a cool play on like those when smokers have to get like their like a trach in their neck. I think it's like a cool take on that thing. You know what I mean?
It is, and it makes the character a little more interesting. So something was expecting. He's not like, to me, he doesn't look like someone who'd be like a crime lord. So this is where I thought it was interesting. As they interrogate him, the mayor obviously denies this and informs Boba Fett of Jabba's cousins, which they just call the twins, and like they're somehow, in my opinion, even more nasty looking than Jabba the Hutt.
Oh, dude, they gave off some weird vibes.
Yeah, I thought I was like, oh, they're not sisters. I thought they were some weird couple, but
who knows?
I don't know. They're gross. I don't know if they were like new characters in general or if they've been in like Star Wars lore before, but I'd never heard of them. Does it ring a bell?
Yeah, I don't know. They might have been in the comics. I'm not sure.
Whatever. They're side characters no one cares about. They want to claim back Jabba's old throne, which Boba's taken over. And after this scene, I just thought it was kind of strange because this is where I believe Boba is sleeping in his tank, and he is now attacked by a giant Wookiee bounty hunter, which this part I thought was hilarious. I could not figure out how to say his name because it's spelled Krranstan. So I thought like Kronstan, and I like tried to Google it. And Kieran Gillen, who's like the co-creator of that Wookiee, he even said, I have no idea how to pronounce his name. So like, say whatever you want.
It's the most Star Wars thing ever.
He was clearly just made up on the spot. No one put any effort in.
Yeah.
Cranston.
No, that's
Cranston, maybe.
Yeah, I think it's Cranston. Cranston.
Like Bryan Cranston.
Cranston.
Yeah, that's right. From Breaking Bad. Okay, this makes sense. Okay.
That's where they got it from.
Yeah. It's and I know we discussed before about like whether or not we thought he should have even been able to survive a Wookiee attack. Seemed unnecessary, but I thought it was
a no from me.
I thought it was cool seeing new Wookiees thrown in. But I feel like episode 2 almost kind of felt like 2 episodes to me, because it's like you have the leading up to Fett trying to figure out like who has assassinated him, and then it just like jumps right back into Boba with the Tusken tribe, because I know they had issues from what is called the Pike Syndicate. They're running a spice train through the desert and like kind of through their like homeland. This is where they're like getting shot for no reason, and then it like has all these crazy sequences with like Boba Fett like teaching them how to use speeder bikes, which I thought was so cheesy and hilarious at the same time, because
it was kind of funny. I like that. It was funny.
I thought it was funny because their first inclination, and I talked about this before, they started breaking the speeders because they were like technology.
They don't know what to do with it. They're just looking
because they hate technology.
Oh right. Yeah, that was pretty fun. But I thought that was kind of like a cool and like fun ending to like a primarily like I guess more violent episode, because isn't this where don't they successfully like isn't this where they like decide to attack back on the speed bikes at this point?
Yeah. Well, he eventually convinces them. Yeah.
So that's the closure of the episode, is like them ganging up on the speed bike, and then Fett basically tells them that like if they're ever to come back through this territory, they need to pay a toll. And then like there's this weird sequence of him like being accepted into the tribe, which I don't really feel like I need to go into a lot of detail on. But
that was one of my favorite parts, though.
That was probably the best part of the whole show. I'm gonna have to agree. That was probably the best.
The Tusken arc was my favorite.
Yes, me too. I agree.
Yeah, no, the arc itself was cool, but like I just meant like the whole sequence of how he like enters.
Oh yeah,
into the tribe. It's like it's something that's just kind of worth watching and jumping.
Yeah, you have to watch it. That's a good call. But go watch it if you haven't.
It was a cool ending to episode 2.
Yeah,
I have comments later for this whole Tusken arc and stuff when we see what else happens. I'll save at the end though.
Please do. Yeah, so then after that episode, we get I think we all can agree the 2 worst episodes of the whole series. these man, weird episodes. So I think the episode 3 starts off where I think we get like a little bit more insight into like Boba. Like if I don't think Alec, I don't remember if you mentioned it, but Boba kind of helps the Tusken people, be the I guess you say gatekeepers for the desert, and the Pikes, the fishmen as I call them, they have to now pay the Tuskens a toll essentially to pass through. And so in this episode, I think the episode starts off with the dude who voices he's on King of the Hill. I cannot remember his name.
He's also on Barry.
Yes, he's in Barry. He's Bill in King of the Hill.
Or not Bill Hader, but the
Fugues, whatever his name is.
Yeah. I know him from King of the Hill and some other shows too. I think he's also in Office Space. If you ever watched that movie, old movie he's the stapler guy.
That is such a great classic.
I know, such a great movie. But he comes to Boba. He's like, "Yo, Boba, I got these dudes. They are harassing me. They're not paying for water." Boba Fett goes and he meets what we now know is the Mighty Morphin Power Rangers of Star Wars. A bunch of like angsty teenage kids who huff, I don't know, oil or something. I don't know what they're smoking over there, but they're like these like half robotic like droids. They have like droid, cyborgs. They have like droid parts on their body, and they Boba's like, "Hey, I need more muscle." So he approaches these people, and he's like, "Hey, join my group." And then I think we got a flashback, if I remember correctly, as to like the whole situation where Boba goes to the Pikes to collect money, and they're like, "Hey, we already paid the other biker gang," and so Boba goes back, and that's when we find out that the Tuskens have been killed. They've been slaughtered, and it's pretty. Tuskens. It's so he to I guess Boba's kind of lost. This is the only family he's really known his whole life, and he kind of, I think he feels like responsible. Let's see. I think also in this episode, isn't this the episode where we meet the Rancor? Because after
after Black Cranston tries to kill Fett.
Yeah,
I call him Black Chewbacca. Yeah, Black Chewbacca.
He's played by a black actor.
Oh, really?
His name off the top of my head.
We call him Black Chuba.
I'm gonna call Black Chuba is pretty good. Or we call him a Blookie.
His name's Gary Jones.
I don't know if I'm allowed to say that on the podcast.
Yeah, he's a.
Okay, so somebody on Twitter was like talking about different black characters from Star Wars, and they listed him.
And there's like people, 3 total.
People, yeah, right. People are like, "Oh, that's racist," and there's like, "No, actually, he's played by a black person."
Yeah, he's a Blookie. He's a black Wookiee. But anyways, the twins came back to be like, "Hey, man, remember that time we tried to assassinate you? My bad." And so they present to him with a Rancor as an apology. And a lot of people are theorizing that this is the same Rancor from Star Wars Rebels, because you find out that, somebody is farming them and growing them. So
it's actually so sad. Come on.
You would think that, but you find out that the Rancor.
No, I don't think we should farm Rancors.
But it's just like the Rancor is like a big puppy that likes to eat people. You know what I mean? And we
only eats you if you starve them and.
If you starve them, right? And I think the Boba's theme of like. I think Boba's theme of like, I want to lead with respect, not fear, goes into his relationship with the Rancor too, because it's like, he treats it like a dog, which is weird, but whatever. Danny Trejo's in this episode 3, by the way. Danny Trejo plays the Rancor trainer, which I think we talked about on the podcast before. Didn't know that was a thing. That's a cool occupation to go into.
I feel like Danny Trejo, when he like took the role, he's like, I get to decide what my character does, and you just
exactly. He's like, I don't know, Rancor trainer. All right. So the twins, the Boba Fett's Jabba the Hutt's cousins, the Hutt twins. They give this Rancor to Boba as an apology. They say, "Hey, man, this isn't worth the sweat. We don't want no smoke." They peace out. So Boba Fett chills with his new Rancor. And I think the only other thing that happens is they go to the mayor, right, to have a discussion. And then they find out the mayor peaced out. and the mayor's assistant, who I can't remember the character or the actor's name.
He's Owen Wilson, but he's not.
Yeah, right. Like, he definitely has those vibes. Yeah. But the mayor's assistant, he tries to peace out too, because Boba Fett's putting together that somebody is, putting a hit out on him. So he sends the Mighty Morphin Power Rangers to chase him, which was a very horrible scene. It went on for too long, dude. It went on for too long. I was sitting there like, this is horrible. It was like you could have done that for like 60 seconds, just the chase scene. They chase him down. But that was pretty much like the latter half of the episode. And then I think the only other thing of significance after they capture him and bring him back to Boba's palace is that we get the Blookie again at the bar, strip club place. What is that place? Casino?
It's like a casino, yeah.
Okay. It's kind of like anything, because one thing that
13 strip club.
Well, one thing that I did not one of the things I did not like was when like these two sexy aliens just start like walking up to you, be like, "What do you want, big boy?" Like, whoa, dude, chill. I'm just here for a drink, man. Like, what's happening?
That's what they all say. They all say they're just there for a drink.
Yeah, but I'm like, that's why I'm like, is this like a Bordeaux? Like, why are these people so like aggressively walking up to people, being like, looking for a good time? So that was kind of weird. But yeah, we get the Blookie. He's at the bar, and then he sees I can't remember the name of the race, but they look like reptars. Okay, they look like, I call them reptar people.
This is in episode 4 then.
Is that episode 4? I thought that was the end of episode 3.
No, the 3 ends with the Pike showing up, and then 4 starts with Boba Fett getting his ship back, and then it goes to
Cranston. Okay, good. So then fine. That's how episode 3 ends. Episode 3 was Boo Boo. You can honestly skip that episode.
Honestly, you'll zone out at the end of episode 3 and just kind of forget.
Yes. Episode 4 also isn't that great. Right, because episode 4 also isn't that great. I think the only thing of significance that really happens in the episode is the whole episode is about Boba saving Fennec's life. You find out, like I mentioned from Mandalorian, that like Mando left her for dead after she tried to kill him and young Grogu, and so
I like
Boba finds
her backstory a little bit.
She's a good character. That actress is in Mulan. As I think she plays the witch in Mulan, the live action one. She's also in something else I cannot remember.
She was Mulan in the original though, right?
She's in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.
Yeah, Ming-Na Wen.
Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. She wasn't in the original as well?
Yeah.
I think she's the original Mulan.
That's awesome.
She's
Mulan,
great.
Yeah. She's great. She's honestly great. Her character is probably next to the Blookie. She's probably like my second favorite character in Book of Boba. She's a really cool character. Also in episode 4, Thundercat, the bass player, was in this episode, which was so weird. Now I, as a bass player, probably like one of the 9 people who'd be like, "Yo, is that Thundercat?" But yes, that is Thundercat. Is the like droid / human like slasher doc. Like if you guys played like Cyberpunk, they have like doctors who will literally put like robotics in you. That's exactly what his character was. Yeah. And he is essentially the one who saves Fennec's life. So Fennec is like, all right, Boba, you're good in my book. I owe you a favor.
You can also thank him for the Mighty Morphin Star Wars.
Yes, that's also true. He's basically Zordon. He's Black Zordon. But anyways, Fennec's like, hey, Boba, I you're a real one. I appreciate how you saved my life. Can I help you? He says, say less. I need to get my ship back. And she's like, bet. So then they go to where Bib Fortuna is, who is in the previously evacuated Jabba's palace. And there's this really long scene of them like Ocean's 11ing their way into the building. And they get the ship back. And she's like, hey, man, this isn't for me. And he's like, okay, I hear you. But also, what else are you going to do? And she's like, you're right. I don't have anything else to do right now. So he enlists her as the number 2. And she's like, what are you going to do next? And he's like, say less. And then he murders a bunch of the biker people because he thinks that they killed his Tusken family. You know what I mean? So he just, in cold-blooded murder, Boba just goes ape. And then, I don't remember why, but they go to the Sarlacc pit. Do you remember that?
Yeah, they wanted to see if his armor was there.
Oh yeah,
They
that's
thought
right.
his armor
That
was
was
in there. Which
almost commits suicide. Also, just want to throw that out there.
Real quick though, the Sarlacc pulls the ship in almost, which means that ship is either the weakest ship in Star Wars or Lando Calrissian is the strongest man in Star Wars.
That's true.
If you
That's
remember,
a very good point.
they tried to pull him in, and it was having a hard time doing so.
He shrugged it off. You know what it was? It's because black doesn't crack. That's how Lando got out. Yeah, black doesn't crack even under pressure, baby. That's right. And then I think the only other thing of significance is, like I said, we see the Blookie at the strip club / casino thing.
I wish we would have seen him leading at the strip club. I mean, I feel like
that would have been like what's like some like Wookiee strippers, just like
no, just him. Like is he fighting all the time?
Well, that's a good question because he's shirtless.
Do Wookiees wear lingerie?
Josh, they're already covered in fur. They're not really.
I don't think they need to wear anything. Yeah.
See, but that's the thing. What would a naked? You know what? That's not a question we need the answer to. The internet has already. The internet has. No, do not look up
a waxed Wookiee.
This is not that kind of show.
Do not Google naked Wookiee. It will give you weird results. But yes, we see our Blookie. He's at the casino place, and he sees the Reptar people. I don't remember what they're called.
Trandoshans.
The Trandoshans. And I know the significance of that scene because the Blookie used to be in this like really messed up, like he was like a gladiator slave by Reptar people. So like those Reptar people, like they enslaved him and they actually like took out his bones from his paws and they put like metal in them. So he had these like gauntlets in the gladiator arena. Like he was one of the best gladiators I ever had because he's a Wookiee. So that's actually why, because my wife had asked me about that. If you remember in later episodes that his fists conduct electricity, that's why they do that. Because those Trandoshans, they stuffed like Wolverine basically. They captured him and they put these metal things in his arm to make him a good fighter. And so that's why he hated them so much. That's why he ripped off the arm of one of the Trandoshans, which was an awesome scene. That was
because we got to see a Wookiee rip someone's arm off.
We finally got to see a Wookiee rip someone's arm off like paper mache.
I wanted to see it all though. I wanted to see like full on like cheesy practical effects. It would have been great.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know what is up with Star Wars and people losing a hand or an arm, but it's a theme. It's a common theme in Star Wars. So we had. Yeah, it's someone's king. That's definitely. I think it's George Lucas. He likes that. He likes those one-armed people. You know, hey, everyone needs love. But yeah, that was a cool scene. Boba comes to him and he's like, "Hey, buddy, chill." And he's like, "Yeah, you're right." So he leaves. But you know he's gonna be back because it's a TV show. So that was the end of episode 4. I did not enjoy those 2 episodes. I thought those were the weakest episodes, and then it just gets weirder. After that, episode 5 just gets. It's
also better in quality though. That's the other thing.
It is, yeah, it is. You want to explain?
Episode 5 almost feels like they just ended that TV show and just started a new show, and then
that
you mean
true?
You mean Grogu and Friends, the show where we just follow Grogu and his adventures? Because that's what this is all turning into.
I think AJ wrote the theme song for it.
Grogu and Friends. Oh, sorry.
I feel like if you don't know, by the way, Grogu is Baby Yoda. I, for a long time,
oh my goodness,
surprise!
Grogu was, because in my head he's Baby Yoda. And it's like, oh, he has a name now.
Yeah, Yoda is not the name of a species. So I kept having to explain to my wife that his name is just Grogu. It's just Grogu. Is it a bad name? Yes. Could they have never given him a name? Yes. But we're here now.
I don't think he needed a name.
I don't think he needed a name either.
All he needs is those big eyes. That's all you need.
Young. They could have he could have just had his rap name been like Young Yoda, and we all would have expected it. It would have been fine. I mean, he even has drip by the end of the show, so he's halfway there to his rap career. I don't know. He's almost there.
But episode 5 was directed by Bryce Dallas Howard, and so while the narrative goes completely 180, the quality significantly improved.
Skyrockets,
in my humble opinion. I think she's a fantastic director for Star Wars because she also worked on The Mandalorian.
The apple doesn't fall far from the tree, baby.
There you go. So what we get in this one is, we take a little hiatus from Boba Fett. We close that book, and then we go over to Grogu and Friends. And Mando he has found the armorer, the woman Mandalorian. Actually, I don't know if she's a woman. I think it's a she.
That's
Could be
true.
a they. Don't know.
Let's not assume.
Yeah. And finds her, and also Paz Vizsla. And they're kind of hiding out because their conclave back in the Mandalorian TV series was basically destroyed by the Empire, so they went into hiding again. So he finds them, he's hanging out with them for a little bit, and then Paz Vizsla challenges Mando, Din Djarin, to a duel for the Darksaber, because he's like, hey, this belonged to my ancestors, you don't deserve it. They fight, and something really interesting is that the Darksaber is hard to control for Din. Yeah. But the fight ends, and then out of nowhere, for some reason, the armorer's like, have you ever taken off your helmet? And Mando hesitates. She's like, oh, all right, see ya. And he gets excommunicated. AJ, what's up?
Yes. Well, so a couple of things there. So number one, if you haven't watched season 2 of The Mandalorian, he takes off his helmet because he thinks he's about to die. And
season 1, he takes off his helmet again to say goodbye to Grogu.
To say goodbye to Grogu, yes. So
how dare he? That's not
the whole thing. So it's something that I don't think it's confirmed yet, but I think it is I think it's a very good correlation to look out for. Is that in Star Wars, the Clone Wars TV show, as we know, they go pretty deep. They go balls deep into the history of the Mandalorians. And same thing with Star Wars Rebels. They get pretty deep in that.
And Darth Revan for OG Old Republic fans.
OG Old Republic, yes. So they go into that. They touch into that, and so one of the things that is mentioned in the animated series is that the rift between the Mandalorians, right, is between the Mandalorians like Bo-Katan, like we saw in so many series, even The Mandalorian. She's one of the Mandalorians who is like, hey man, we're just here for our people, and that's about it. And then we have the extremists. Now we know that Darn Jin, is that his name in the show?
Din Djarin.
Din Djarin, yeah. We know that he is part of what they call the Watch. If you remember, that's what these secretive Mandalorians.
The cult.
But a lot of people are saying that this is either a sect or essentially what's left of the Death Watch. The Death Watch were the Mandalorians who essentially sided, I believe, with the Empire, and they the armorer basically alludes to the fact that Bo-Katan is the reason Mandalorian is destroyed, because she claimed the Darksaber without fighting for it. It was given to her, and she tried to use her family's birthright as being rulers of Mandalorian to take it, and she never earned it. And that's what she means when she says if it's not claimed in victory, then you're cursed, and you're cursing all kinds of people if you try to lead with this weapon. So I thought that was a cool correlation, because I'm pretty sure she's one of the people who escaped from the Death Watch. And the Death Watch in Star Wars history, let's be honest, they're kind of a-holes. That's kind of what they are.
They got an awesome name, though.
They did. They have a great name. They have a great name. So I think what they're leading up here is Mando finding these two different ideologies, and him having to make a very conscious decision of is this still the way, or is there another way? So,
and he technically has claimed to become Mandalore and rule Mandalore, but it doesn't really seem like he has no interest in that. Right. And yeah, it'll be interesting to see what they do in season 3 with that. So, like I said, he gets excommunicated from his clan, goes to Tatooine, and meets up with Peli Motto. She's like, hey, I got a new ship for you. He's like, okay, cool, Razor Crest. No. Turns out to be a somewhat incomplete N1 Nabooian starfighter, which, if you're familiar with the prequel trilogy, it's those yellow ships that the Nabooians... Yeah, Anakin flies one in episode 1.
It's the most epic. I don't know. I just
think
it's
pretty cool looking.
It's young Anakin. Yeah, it's young Anakin ship.
So she's like, "Hey, I got this. We'll customize it for your needs." And at first, he's like, "Well, I don't want a starfighter." Turns out he does want it. They build it. It's really fast. Then we also get the Pike Crime Syndicate in the next episode 6. Cobb Vanth is just chilling out in Freetown. And some spice runners, which are drug dealers in Star Wars, show up. He's like, nah, get out. and he has a shootout with them, kills them all, and he lets one live, and that guy ends up leaving, dipping out.
Yeah.
And then
I forgot to mention earlier that the Spice Runners were like the drug dealers. I think I just
They're
mentioned that
they're the pushers.
Yeah,
they're the pushers, man.
Yep. And so, yeah, we get to see good old Cobb Vanth again in his, Silver Fox glory. And then after he has that little shootout, Kate's nodding her head. After the little shootout, putting her on the spot.
Silver Fox.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. When I watched it, I was like, "Ooh, our male model's back!" Like,
oh yeah, he's from The Office.
Oh,
he was.
Really?
He plays a very funny storyline where he's like he went on dates with Pam at one point and then stopped calling her, and so like he works in the office at some point, and so like Jim and Pam are trying to like find out like, yeah, why didn't you call Pam back? It's really funny. So yeah, he's in The Office as well. If you watch The Office.
Yeah. Then we take another little detour. This episode was actually directed by Dave Filoni, by the way. So that's why
I could tell.
It has that vibe. I respect
it was good.
Dave Filoni to the utmost. In the Disney era of Star Wars, that man is one of the few, including like Jon Favreau and Bryce Dallas Howard, who I think have kept the spirit of Star Wars alive. In my humble opinion.
I agree with that.
Din goes to Freetown to ask for help. And then after he dips out, Cad Bane shows up. And he has a standoff with Cobb Vanth, shoots Cobb Vanth. And obviously Cobb Vanth is dead, right?
I mean, you would think
obviously.
So. I thought this scene was great. If you haven't watched if you haven't watched the end of season 2 of Mandalorian, you would know that why Din and Cobb have a relationship, because Cobb actually was the one who had Mando's armor. So they go through they go through this whole like, I'll give the armor back if you help us out. And I thought that was one of the better episodes of the series.
For sure.
When they kill the dragon. Yeah, it's pretty cool.
Crate dragon, yeah.
The crate dragon, yeah.
Did you say Cobb has Mando's armor or Boba's armor?
Oh, Boba's armor, excuse me. Yeah, he has Boba's armor. And so he's like, I need that armor, bruv. And he's like, all right, if you help me out, I'll give you the armor. It's a pretty good scene. So, when they come back, it's supposed to be like symbolic. He's like, hey, man, you did me a favor. Now I need to ask you a favor, right?
Yeah, there's a mutual respect between the two
of them. But the best part of the episode was mother flipping Cad Bane. I did not see that coming. That came out of nowhere. If you know Star Wars lore, this guy is an MFer, okay? He gets out of every slippery situation that you can. Like, Cad Bane is a great character, not because he's evil, but because he reflects us as people. He is out for Cad Bane. Cad Bane is number 1 on his list of interests, and that's the only thing. So making a deal with Cad Bane is always like a monkey paw situation, because if something that you tell him or something that he sees benefits him, time and time again, Cad Bane has always shown, I'm going to do what's best for me. So, and we see that later, actually. We do see that later in the show.
And he also will not die.
He will
no
not
how
die.
hard you try.
If you think stabbing, this man takes like blows to the head with a lightsaber, explosions, buildings falling on him. This man is like practically like invincible. He might be a Jedi.
A blue cat. He's like a blue creepy alien cat with 9 lives.
12.
He's went through at least 8 lives so far.
Yeah, he's got 12 lives. Cad Bane will never die. He's a great character.
So yeah, it's pretty hype, and it's very, very like, this is one of the episodes where like, this is a Western.
Yeah, Western.
And it's cool. Like, he comes into town, he's all doing the clinkety clink as he's walking, and then they have that shootout. He kills one of the, I don't know if he's a deputy or what. And then also shoots Cobb Vanth, who looks like he's down for the count. But this is Star Wars, so who can say what's to happen with that?
Right.
And then we also have a peek back at Luke with Grogu. Yeah. And the end of the episode, we have Luke is offering Grogu a chance. He can either choose the lightsaber, which is Yoda's lightsaber.
Yep.
Or he can choose the Beskar chainmail and then go back to Mando Din Djarin. And that's how that one ends.
And I also kind of hated that Luke did this. I thought that was really mean for Luke to force Grogu into this decision, only because you would think that like his growth from when Yoda gave him a very similar decision, you would think that he'd be a little bit more understanding of it. I just thought that was kind of like cruel. I thought that was kind of cruel to make a baby Yoda make that choice. You know what I'm saying?
Right. And like actually it kind of makes sense despite how much it sucks and like how much you hate Luke for doing that. It makes sense because that's the way he was taught, where Jedi do not have attachments. Like you are fully committed. You're like a monk. And Kylo is one of his first students, and he fails Kylo for that same reason, that he doesn't understand how to navigate emotions.
Sure.
And I think that's why he did that to Grogu. And we also, we get to see stuff with Ahsoka and with, I skipped over this, but Din visits and he talks to Ahsoka and she's like, hey, you need to make a choice. Are you going to let him train here, or are you going to interrupt that and probably, ruin what he's trying to do? And yeah, like we get lots of fan service, cool moments, Grogu jumping around, CGI Luke.
I also think that one of the other reasons that one of the other things that was interesting is when you think about it, if we remember, Grogu's like 52, 53. Like I mean, in whatever the heck his series, what is he? Do we even know what they are? Those little Yodas. We just call them Yodas.
They ever tell us? Yeah.
Okay, whatever the Yoda people are, like they age slowly, but Grogu realistically probably knows more about the Force than Luke does. That's just a reality that like I think one of the things that you kind of see Luke coming to that understanding. I think that was hinted by Ahsoka's character when she's like, maybe the student is teaching the teacher, because Grogu has spent time in the Jedi Temple for many years. I think Grogu has complete control of the Force, but he's afraid. You know what I mean? He's he's a kid. He's afraid. He's scared to use his power. So
well, it also shows that Luke kind of young.
What else happened? Is that the end of episode 6 or 5?
Episode. Wow, what episode? 6. Episode 6 is the end of like when we get that choice, and then we're gearing up for war, man.
I'm ready. I'm always ready for war. Like, especially when the war consists of two factions, or a faction that we've seen very little of, and another one that just kind of just appears out of the woodworks.
Which one is that?
The Pikes. The Pike army kind of comes out of nowhere.
And going to the last episode, Boba and his allies are getting ready for a siege by the Pike Syndicate. And he's got this little battle planned, all laid out. He's got his people where he wants them to be, the Gamorrean guards, the biker gang himself. Mando, Din Djarin has shown up. So Fennec Shan. Yeah. They're all ready to throw down. And then out of nowhere, very Godfather-esque, the other crime families turn on Fett, and they all start attacking him. So
none of that was surprising to me.
They're screwed. Yeah. I actually, I don't know. I kind of like put my expectations aside because of how some of the other episodes were going. So yeah, I didn't expect it, nor did I not expect it.
Sure.
Right. Oh, and then Cad Bane shows up. AJ's favorite guy.
Yeah, it was a little underwhelming though. It was underwhelming.
It really was.
Yeah,
like the tension started to build, and if you don't know, AJ's a huge Clone Wars TV series fan. So it's the
only Star Wars content that doesn't blow absolutely cheeks. So yes,
and they start to build that tension of like they know each other from Boba's childhood, and then it kind of just fizzles out, and then like the battle picks up. Then you get these two scorpion neck droids, or whatever they're called, who are these gigantic. They look like destroyer droids from episodes 1, 2, and 3.
1, 2, and 3. Yeah, Star Wars, the movies, not both. Yeah,
that's or what Battlefront. I thought when I saw them.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. And these things are basically unstoppable. So it's like, oh, we're all gonna die. But wait,
Plot armor.
Our little buddy shows up. Plot armor. Yeah. Oh,
Yeah.
dude, hardcore plot armor in this
Hardcore
episode.
plot armor. Yep.
It's stronger than Beskar steel. I will say that.
Grogu gets he gets postmated to Mando for some reason. That was a weird moment.
Yeah,
gets hand delivered in the middle of a war. Just gets hand.
I like that they just don't really explain it. They're just kind of like, oh, why are you here? Oh, it doesn't really matter. And then R2D. Is that what R2D?
The whole episode. I'm like, did it? Right. Yeah. Well, the whole episode, I'm like, didn't R2D2 come here in an X-wing? Can't he just end this in 12 seconds? Like, what happened? Where did he go? Why he didn't see the explosions?
I didn't even think about that. Yeah,
like why would he just dip? Maybe I don't know. That's
like, hey, I'm just here to deliver. Yeah, I don't need to like get affiliated with it in the background.
He's like, hey man, I didn't get tipped. Do you got any change on you, dude? Like, I gotta go back. You know, I don't know. I thought that was a really funny scene.
You know what, Alex, you're right. This is a gang war, and he doesn't want to be affiliated. He doesn't want to be caught in this.
I think he did the right move. I would have dipped as well.
I don't blame him either. He threw up that peace sign. He's like, I'm out. I'm going back to the woods.
So Grogu gets dropped off, and Mato brings him in her little station wagon thingy, little cart thing, to this battle. And
wasn't she oblivious that a battle was happening basically? As well? Like she seemed so unaware.
She like turns the corner. She's like, hey, Mando, and it's like
she's like, how's your day? Like, okay, well, we don't have time for this.
Yeah, literally,
we're kind of fighting for our lives. Yeah. Oh yeah, and then Grogu dismantles one of the what's it called, the Scorpionex, the droids. Yeah. He dismantles it. I thought he was gonna like crumple it. It was pretty anticlimactic. He just like took apart the leg.
It was still cool. He used the Schwartz.
Yeah, he used the Schwartz. That's true.
So between Grogu using the Schwartz, and Boba popping up as AJ predicted, riding a Rancor.
Oh, the Schwartz is a reference to Spaceballs, a Star Wars parody, and instead of the Force, which you use with your hands, the Schwartz. You know, just watch it. I'm not going to explain it.
Yeah.
But yeah, just watch it. It's a different type of Force. Let's just put it that way.
Sexy Force.
But yeah, Boba, like you said, AJ. I think AJ, you were saying you were gonna laugh if Boba shows up last episode riding in the Rancor.
Oh, didn't I make that joke before that happened?
You made that up in like the episode 3, I think.
Yeah, I knew it was gonna happen. I'm like, something's gonna happen, and Boba Fett is gonna be like on the horse of the Rancor, just like destroying things, and it happened.
You have the gift.
I feel like it.
You do have the gift.
We are the same. We are the same person, me and Patton. We know Star Wars. We know where they're gonna go with this stuff. That was a ridiculous scene.
And then Boba Fett, his forces win, and he apparently kills Cad Bane, unless you're like a true hardcore fan like AJ, and you're like, oh, he's not dead. One, because that man will not die. No, 2, because his little heart monitor thing is beeping. I totally didn't notice that. And then I had some sweaty neck beards on social media tell me I was wrong. I was like, okay, cool.
Yeah, well, it's all right. Yeah. So yeah, overall, what did you guys think of the series?
I didn't think you said neck, but I won't say what else.
I'm afraid.
Oh, right, nope, definitely said neck beards.
Neck beards? Is that a thing? Not sweaty. Maybe, honestly, some of these people are kind of jerks, so maybe they should be called sweaty dickbeards because they take this stuff way too seriously. But yeah, what did you guys think of the series?
The good
thoughts
for me was I enjoyed seeing the whole Tusken Raider thing.
Okay.
I loved that whole arc. Super cool to see their culture explored. Boba Fett's gaffy stick fighting that we saw back in Mandalorian Season 2 was actually inspired by Maori staff fighting. So his gaffy stick looks different because they want it to look closer to a Maori spear, like war club spear thing. So I thought that was really cool, just seeing that indigenous type of culture explored, but then they got fridged, which sucked. Another thing I liked was Bryce Dallas Howard directing an episode and making one of the better ones of this series.
Yeah.
Alex, what about you?
Pretty similar. Like I thought the episodes with Mandalorian were the better ones. But I think going into the show, I kind of just thought it was going to be this dumb, fun show to watch. And I think that made it a little more enjoyable to me, where like some of it, when I could just tell that it was going to be like pointless action and I don't really need to watch, I would just kind of do that, and it made it more fun. But like I think my favorite scenes of the show that I hope if they do a season 2 on, they can capture more of, is when they have Luke and they're showing like outside scenes of like other planets and things. Like I thought that felt like original Star Wars, and that was really cool.
And also, how cool!
I didn't even know that it was
Luke?
CGI.
That was
at
impressive.
First. I actually thought
that's pretty impressive,
took,
right? Like that's cool.
And somehow like merged them in, and then I was like, oh, this is CGI. This is pretty awesome.
Well, what they did is that they had
Mark Hamill.
Thank you. Mark Hamill do the voice, and they used pitch modulation to make him sound younger. And then they also borrowed some of his facial mannerisms with currently, and then spliced it with they did a whole thing. And the person that they had as part of their team was some YouTuber who, when they did it for Mando season 2, he made his own version that was like much better. So they brought that guy onto their team.
What?
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
No way.
Yeah,
I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, you know what I'm talking. Yeah, they brought that.
Yeah.
They brought that. I think maybe as in a consultant space. I don't remember the capacity, but I thought that was cool.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure if you paused and zoomed in on the frames,
awesome.
it would probably you could probably tell it's CGI. But I think from just
it's not
really,
perfect.
Looking too hard, it was believable.
And for a TV show, I think that's some big budget stuff.
Yeah,
I think seeing stuff like that made me think. I'm like, you got to remember, it's like it's a first season. I think we have really high expectations going into first seasons of shows now compared to even 10 years ago. So I think I can see potential for them to kind of swing it around. It was still fun. It just, I don't know. I guess that's the best way to answer it. It was all right.
Yeah. I also thought that I think some of the best moments are, in my opinion, the moments where Boba is trying to be like this general. I kind of felt like one of the maybe this is also bad that they didn't go enough into that component, because I thought it was fitting for Boba Fett to try to be this new type of leader. And I like those scenes where he's like assembling a team, even though the team is kind of goofy. I also enjoyed the Blookie. I thought he was probably a really cool character, and I hope we see him more in other capacities, because I mean, he's a black Wookiee.
Everyone do their best Wookiee impression.
Like he's from. We will not do that.
Nope.
We won't do that. The only thing I would ask for is that if they make another, Book of Boba or in Mandalorian season 3 or whatever, I hope that they introduce like a really dangerous Ewok. Like, I think Ewoks are one of the funniest animals in Star Wars lore, and I would just love like a murderous Ewok to be like part of Boba's crew,
like a Chucky version.
Yeah, the space teddy bears. But I would love yes, basically. Like, I think that's what Boba's missing. He's missing that espionage, that like little murderous like that. But that's his whole ploy. Like he gets in his speed bike. He can get a speed bike. He could be part of the Ranger group, but he gets in close with his cuteness, and he just gets in with that stabbing motion. That's how the
Ewoks are like in the expanded universe stuff, the comics.
Oh, really?
They were like killing stormtroopers on Endor and eating them and stuff, and
delicious.
Guerrilla warfare tactics.
So that's what Boba needed to turn the tides. Not a Jedi Grogu, not a Mando, but a murderous
Boba
Ewok.
and Mando
Remember,
should co-parent an Ewok and Grogu, and it'd be the cutest. Like Full House.
That's a very good point. Also, I'm totally shipping Mando and Ahsoka Tano. I'm just putting that out there. Okay.
Really?
Yes, I'm shipping them. Because think about it. Ahsoka's not a Jedi. She doesn't give a damn about the whole Jedi Order. I have to be celibate for the rest of my life nonsense. And actually, I think you'll see what.
Let me put my fedora on.
Oh, go ahead.
Glasses.
Push up those glasses, son.
Jedi don't have to be celibate. They just can't form relationships.
Yeah, that's kind of what I meant. The celibacy joke, I was just throwing in there. Yeah.
So George Lucas quoted it somewhere.
I just saw it on Instagram.
I saw it on
too,
Instagram
like,
or something.
Recently, yeah.
What if you have to search on Instagram to
Hey,
see
do
that
they?
kind of content?
Instagram knows me. They know what kind of content I want to see.
Yeah, that's true.
Kate's Googling, like, are Jedi, like, celibate? Like, what's happening with that? Yeah, they probably are, though. Honestly, that's where all the pent up anger goes to. But anyways, I honestly do believe that, like, Ahsoka and Din, is that his name? Din Djarin?
Yeah.
I always mess up his name, but I do think there's some chemistry there. I really do. And again, you know, Ahsoka, she's not really tied to the beliefs of the Jedi Order anymore. If you don't know why, go watch the animated series.
I can see it happening too.
I can see it happening. It would be pretty cool. Any excuse to make more like Jedi babies, I'm all for it. Well. So we don't have enough of that in Star Wars.
What are
we don't.
What are some of the things we didn't like? Oh boy. Josh, you got to narrow it down to like a couple. That's my challenge.
I'll just say it seemed to lack a full sense of direction. There's a lot of like the narrative seemed to wander a bit. It felt like we had multiple story arcs that didn't connect. The whole Tusken thing I thought was great. The Pike Syndicate thing was okay. The stuff with Grogu, while cool, didn't seem to fit. That was my first dislike. The second would be I am always a big criticism of fan service, and there was just so much of that. It's cool, it's hype, but for me, it wears out really quick.
Which is all Disney's really done since they bought Star Wars.
Pandering to the low, yeah. That is, yeah. I mean, and to piggyback off what Josh said, that the lack of direction was really jarring to me. I felt like what they really could have done is that these plot points throughout the show, they could have just interjected this within a couple seasons of the actual Mandalorian show. I don't think there was enough content there to warrant Boba Fett having his own show. And one of the reasons why I feel that way is because it is insane to have 2 entire episodes of a 7-episode season without Boba Fett. That is like, can you imagine watching, I don't know, Marvelous Miss Maisel and the main character is just not in the episode
are all
for
just
2 episodes.
All
just like, exactly. Yeah, that's it. Okay, thank you, Kate. Yeah. That is the best example. That is the best example ever. Like, it would be the most jarring thing to ever see. You'd be like, what is happening? So I kind of felt like that was a really odd choice. I kind of felt like if you didn't have enough to make a full season of Boba Fett content, you shouldn't have made the show. But that's just me. And I also just didn't like the filler episodes. You know what I mean? Like, if you only had 4 episodes worth of content, then just make 4 episodes. Like, that's okay. You know what I mean? Like, not everything has to be 8 hours of content. Not everything has to be 12 hours of content. You know what I'm saying? Like, if you only have 4 hours, then turn in your 4 hours. You know what I mean? Like, that's good enough. I just didn't like the moments, like the episode dedicated to Boba getting his ship back. You literally could have had one scene. He's in the ship. Boom. We move on. The speed chase thing. One scene. Boom. They got the assistant. Even like the last episode, I felt like
the fight scene was way too long
because it was like this. The fight scene was way too long. Way too long. And then after, like, I mean, did anyone die except for some Power Rangers?
Kind of like, why are they scared to like show people dying on this? Like, everybody was just
dying. Yeah, I'm like, I don't even. Everyone just runs away. I mean, it was very like this is that thing that we'll talk about a lot in the duration of our podcast. That like Disney has to put this like stamp on it. Like they're afraid for things to get real. And it's always going to limit, like, I get it. It's a kid's show at its core. So, like, they don't want to be gruesome. But I think there's something to say that, like, you can show realities of life and still be for kids without being graphic. Like, there's a middle ground there. That's why I always joke that the Clone Wars is that's a better Star Wars medium. Well, I think it does that really well. Like,
that's why I thought people die. Strange. Was like, okay. The first 2 episodes of this did feel more like a show targeted to adults or teenagers, and it felt darker, and then it slowly progressed into a more child-friendly show. So that's why I was like, this should have just been 2 separate TV shows if that was the case.
Yeah,
100%.
Exactly, 100%.
You guys both have great points. Oh, sorry. Go ahead, AJ.
Oh, I was just gonna throw one more point in there that I don't think that they, if you're gonna like totally go into a whole episode dedicated to like just the Mandalorian, I feel like they didn't go into like enough detail to give context to a lot of the information that I had to like kind of interject to Alex and Kate, for example, who may not know some of the background stuff. So again, that kind of just adds to that layer of like feeling very bizarre, because I was really hoping they'd give some hints to my overarching theory that I think Din Djarin is capable of being a Jedi.
Really?
Find out.
That's my theory. If you remember, he's not an original Mandalorian.
You're right. He's a foundling.
He's a foundling, and on top of that, he was beyond being a foundling. Like, we don't know anything about where he came from. In Star Wars lore, the Empire frequently went to locations where there was like potential like Jedi, like kids who can or Force wielders, and the Emperor would essentially try to weed out like the strongest ones, and then just like lay waste to the rest of these kids for the intention of limiting like the possibility of more Jedi to essentially rise up again. So as we know, the beginning of Din Djarin's life, like when he was a kid, his village was destroyed by, I think,
the Separatists.
The Separatists, yeah. So going back from episode 1 times. So that kind of like is in line with the back then Palpatine's like plot for like weakening the Empire or weakening the Jedi Council and the Jedi forces. You know what I mean? Like that makes it all kind of tracks. So that's my overarching theory. Cool. I think he's a Jedi, and I think that the only like hint that they give to it is when they tell you when the armor is telling Mando about the saber, and she mentions that the person who made the saber was a Jedi. I feel like the only reason why you would put that in there is to put the possibility in our minds that a Mandalorian could also be a Jedi. So just throwing it out there. And he has a Jedi teacher named Grogu on his back. Just throwing it out there, y'all. Okay? Just throwing it out there. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, with season 3 hits, we should look into that.
Yep.
And I guess the last thing I want to say, Alex, if you have anything else to add.
Yeah.
This will be the last thing, then we'll close out.
I think I don't know. Yeah, it's a lot of similar points that you guys are saying. It's just everything felt so random to me. Like I wanted the first 3 episodes. Like I wanted the whole show to kind of feel like that. And I seriously felt like I watched 3 different TV shows in one.
Me too. Yeah.
And that kind of made it confusing for me. Like, not that it was a hard show to follow, but it was hard to follow in the sense of like, why are all these things happening? Like I feel like too much of it was force fed to me, and I think if they wanted to show me these like crossover things, they should have like maybe spread that out into multiple seasons or just had extra episodes. Which is probably Disney's fault. They probably didn't give them
and now we don't know. Yeah. And the worst part is we don't know now, like, are they going to keep doing this in like Mando and Obi-Wan and the Ahsoka TV show? Like, are they going to keep doing that stuff? Because that's going to turn off a lot of people, including myself, to trying to keep engaged with those shows.
They need to commit to a feel, like a theme or a style. I can't even think of the right word.
No,
a tone. They need to commit to a tone.
Yeah.
Because something George Lucas once said is that Star Wars is intended for kids, which is fine. But AJ, like you were saying, you can present that in a way that delves into harsh realities like Clone Wars did.
Yeah,
it's
a hard, the original trilogy.
Right. Yeah, it's a hard line to walk, but it's very doable. They've done it before. Dave Filoni can do it. I hope they are able to do that for future projects. And so with that, my rating for the show would be 1 thumb up of clad in Beskar steel, 1 partially Sarlacc disintegrated thumb.
Oh God, I hate this thumbs rating. I just, you know what? I'm just gonna give it like if I got 2 thumbs, I'm gonna do one is like one's half there, and then the other one is hanging by a thread because there's that he can be sewn back together.
Ooh.
That's my thumb rating.
By the what's the slasher doctor? What's his name?
Thundercat.
Maybe fix
Thundercat has potential to repair the thumb and make it a full thumb.
Better be more Thundercat in the next season.
All right.
Oh man. Well, he might be. Kate, what about you? Did you enjoy the show?
I think I'm too critical of things that are made by Disney in the last few years.
Join the bandwagon.
My final thoughts on it all are just that I don't like that they're making all these shows and that you kind of have to watch each one or else you might miss something from the other one. You can't be a fan of just one. You have to watch all of them or else you might miss something. And that plus with just sometimes just feeling really cheesy. I feel like I'm giving 2 thumbs down. I'm sorry. Sorry, Boba.
No. Don't feel bad, because I also was gonna give it 2 thumbs down. For all the cool fan service stuff that they do in the show, they're too far in between, and there's no story. There's no story. There's no art.
Need the show. Boba,
nothing happened.
Lives, but then what?
Nothing happened. You guys, nothing happened. What was the worst that would happen if Boba lost?
Life doesn't change. Yeah.
Don't know.
There's no stakes. Like 2 thumbs down. That show was straight cheeks, and Disney knows it. Okay, for the cool moments in the show, do not make up for the 6 hours of if the show's 7.5 hours, there were 6 hours of just like content.
Just stick to
probably
Star
didn't
Wars,
really care for,
Dark Horse comics, and you will be a very happy person.
Very happy camper. That sounds like a plan. Man.
All right, and last thing, do you want to talk about who's hot, who's not?
Oh yeah, that's right. Okay,
I know we joked about this.
Was the
who's hot? Cobb
on the whole show.
No, the guy who plays Cobb. That guy, he's a good looking dude. He's a good looking man. Who else? I guess
Timothy Oliphant.
Thank you, Timothy Oliphant. He's a handsome bro, dude. I think the only other person I think you could say is hot is maybe Din Djarin, but technically we don't know what he looks like.
Oh yeah.
She's hot as well.
Hold up, I'm about to one up all of you.
Oh, who you got?
Garza Fwip, who was played by Jennifer Beals. The Twilight of that cantina.
Oh
place.
Yeah.
Yo,
yeah.
Hold up. She is 58 years old.
Holy cow!
I don't know what is in her water.
She looks great for 58.
She looks like she's 30.
Wow. 28. I thought she was
58.
Okay, now for who's not.
I have to admit, I do not like Peli Motto's when her tooth fell out in the ending episode of the fight scene. That was unattractive.
Oh yeah. yeah.
Oh, I thought that was funny though.
Scenes where people lose teeth. That was a not for me.
I would probably say the bartender who works at Freetown. That guy looks like a fungus. He literally looks like fungus, like foot fungus. Like I don't understand what the design choice was for this character. Who else? I'm trying to think. Who else?
They just look like vomit. That's the best way to describe that.
Oh, they always look like vomit. Yeah. I got a really good one. Boba, fresh out the Sarlacc pit, looked really disgusting.
Yeah.
This man Boba looked like a rotting carcass. Dang, dude. I didn't go that far. Just when he looked like rotting carcass. It just he looked like he was decaying in front of my eyes here.
Other reasons why we should have kept helmet on.
That's hilarious. All right, guys. Well, I think that's all we got for today. Let's wrap it up. That's it for our show. If you like what you heard, subscribe so you can stay up to date on all of our content. If you're on YouTube, hit the like button. If you're on a platform that allows it, drop us a comment or rating to tell us what you thought. Most people listen to our show at this point on Apple and Spotify. Is that right? I think I'm probably the only person who listens on Google Podcasts, if you even know that's a thing.
True.
Hashtag Team Android. Hashtag Team Android. If you listen to on any platform that has a podcast, that's where we are. You can also find us on Twitter and Instagram at the Bandwagon Fan Pod. Guys, go find us. If you're listening to our podcast, you probably found us. So take that information and apply it to your everyday life and share it with your friends and family if you think they care. If you don't think they care, share it anyways. We could use the numbers. That's it for our show. and we'll see you next week. Bye. Bandwagon is hosted by Josh Jimenez, Alex Melgosa, and me, AJ Soy. Our show is produced by Kate Smith and edited by yours truly. Our theme song is Lush Waves by Taylor Lewin of _audio. Thanks for listening. We'll see you soon.